we're gonna work with you. Like, we really get deployed to work with the other people in our agency. It's 4 of us right now, and we're growing to be more people. But because of the fact that there are other mixed methods researchers that work around, the 4 of us can be really kind of strengthened and specialized in our skills to support other people, strengthen them up and train them. So you get the best of the best. You get the knowledge powerhouse to really deliver on your tenders and things like that.
You're making me want to polish my CV. Come on, guys. Anyway, we're on, guys. I'm here with the incredible rock stars. We got Amanda Hammond. I'm going to read off some of your accolades here. Parker Prize winner, careers ambassador for the MRS. We got what was the speaking slot that we did together for the was it the Impact
conference for the MRS?
Yeah, that was for and+more as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of and+more, we got LaShanda Seaman. So you're with the MRS and+more leadership team. You're part of the Ciroc leadership team, not to be mistaken for the drink. That is the social researchers of colour. The honourable mention, you got the honourable mention 30 under 30. And of course, you are both members of the ever-growing Opinium, also to say powerhouse. Welcome. Well, I should say thank you for having me in your place.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How's things been going? I know it's very, very hot, but how's the business? What's it like? And LaShanda, you just recently started here. How's it been?
It's been nice. Everybody's lovely here. Been great adjusting into the team, and it's busy, but like a good busy. Everyone loves the excitement.
Yeah. I know. So you previously you were at Britain Things, right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you noticed is a bit different about Opinium as of coming?
I think Opinium does different kinds of research compared to Britain Things, and I expected that coming in. Different kinds of clients, but it's a nice challenge as well. It means that I get to challenge myself on the types of research that I'm doing. Also going out to new types of clients in business development, also bringing in all the knowledge that I know to the team here. So thinking about what we can offer to the clients that they already have here at Opinium. When we're doing proposals, when we're going out to new tenders, training up the team on different methods. So that's been exciting for me as well.
Yeah. It's funny, we were talking about this just off camera, but you know, from the outside looking in, it's like Opinium are on this mission to pull together. It's like the Avengers or something. You know, all of the greatest known and respected researchers in the game, all coming under one roof. That's what it looks like from the outside looking in. You talk about bringing different skills to the table for the rest of the team. Like Amanda, am I kind of on track? Is that what it's like here? Or?
Yeah, definitely. James would love hearing that. It's true. We are. I think we are like the Avengers. I'm going to use that now. I like that analogy. I think why it's like that is because Opinium, everyone is so nice. Everyone wants everyone to grow, and I think that's why we have so many young researchers, particularly that are so talented, so skilled, so respected, like you said, and a lot of the young researchers that we have at Opinium that have kind of gone on to win awards and do fantastic things, they all joined kind of Opinium, when they were, juniors, like interns and, REs, SREs. I joined kind of, from ITV kind of a bit later. I didn't start at Opinion, but I think Opinion really kind of just fosters that growth amongst our young researchers particularly. I think that's what pushes, them on to do such fantastic things.
Yeah.
And I think it's really because Opinion invests in its people.
Yeah.
The owner agency life is busy. It gets crazy sometimes. You do have some late nights, but the well-being offer here is like amazing. It's nothing like I've ever seen before, and I've been at different agencies. I know lots of people from different agencies. But when you think about an agency that will say, okay, we're gonna give you some money towards you like going to the gym, for example, so that you are caring about your well-being and things like that, it means something to you as an individual.
Yeah.
You're gonna stay alive for yourself and taking care of the whole person.
Yeah.
The initiatives that we do internally, going on well-being walks where you see 80% of the staff actually stand up to go on a walk for half an hour around central London to get up from your desk and go look outside. It's not just something in your calendar as a whole. Like,
I love that. You see it actually. You see it on LinkedIn. You see it like even now. I don't know if the camera can spot. They got like named, branded cups and bottles. The area is like seriously so team oriented. It's just like inspiration for me. It's just something that I aspire to create that sort of vibe as well. I mean, Amanda, you were talking about ITV because I remember now that's where you were. Is that where you started? Because it was, correct me if I'm wrong, apprenticeship through ITV, and that's when
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I was at sixth form, did my first year of sixth form, realised actually I was rubbish at education. I didn't want to kind of go on to further education because I was just not very good at it. It wasn't my thing. So I kind of started looking for apprenticeships in the media. That was the industry that I was most interested in. And funnily enough, the ITV apprenticeship scheme was advertising at that point in time. So I applied for the apprenticeship in the commercial research team and got it.
So it was a commercial research apprenticeship.
Yeah. So with the ITV apprenticeship scheme, they had kind of apprenticeships available in all across the business, production, marketing, etc., etc. They also had one apprenticeship available in the commercial research team, which sat within like the wider research team, and that's the one I applied for. That's the one I got. I was working with the sales team, who kind of trying to sell ITV's advertising, sponsorship, product placement, things like that. And so we were really supporting them with those things essentially.
Yeah, I'm just interested because, we would talk about Opinium pulling all of these rock stars and, as you say, you're saying, investing in them from young. And I remember watching you two both speak at the MRS apprenticeship launch, And so, okay, ITV had an apprenticeship. Why did you go for the research one, by the way, just while we're on the topic? Because I think ITV, I don't think research, I think TV.
Exactly. So, I mean, when I was looking at the apprenticeship, there were kind of marketing, production, things like that, which is what most people would typically go for, like the glitz and glam, like the opportunity to meet kind of celebs and things like that. That didn't appeal to me. It kind of never had really appealed to me. I was always more of a behind the scenes kind of, when I was at school, I kind of did really enjoy kind of researching, for projects particularly, but also on that point, when I was in my first year of sixth form, I did some work placement at a local newspaper. And what I loved most about that was researching the stories, because that was kind of one of my tasks as as a volunteer, I suppose, and calling people up and speaking to people about that particular story, getting quotes and things like that. It's basically kind of doing IDIs back then, but I didn't really realise it at the time. And I think that's what made me realise that I enjoyed kind of the research and the speaking to people, finding out about people. And so when it came to applying for an apprenticeship at ITV, when I saw research, those two kind of things kind of clicked, and I was like, marketing, production, research. That sounds like a bit more like me.
Sounds dope.
Yeah. It's
funny because I think you're spot on. But a lot of people, they'll even be doing research for their job and they don't realise that they're doing research. You get what I mean? It's strange. Tell me about how you got into the industry, LaShanda.
I fell into the industry.
The old cliche.
The cliche. I did a graduate scheme with a company called Charity Works, which helps people get into the charity sector and kind of move up quickly so you don't get stuck in admin.
Right.
And I did a research role since I did social sciences at university.
Right.
And it was for a health charity. And I really enjoyed it. But they really wanted someone who had more sort of math skills, more specialized. So I wasn't going to stay on there. And I ended up coming over to agency life because I wanted something where I could do work with a range of different organizations. And I've kind of stayed. It stuck with me. I found my niche really of the kind of clients I want to work with, and just stayed.
It's just one of those just fell in. It's so funny how all it's like it's so rare to hear like, oh yeah, when I was in school, man, I wanted to do research. It's like, nah, you just fall into. But yeah, I guess you was down the same route of social science and all that. You kind of saw it was going that way anyway.
Well, I did like politics and international relations, and I was convinced I was going to be a terrorist negotiator. Like my dissertation was on ISIS, okay?
Nice.
And my mother was like, have you lost your mind? It's bad enough you're in London. I don't need you going off to the Middle East to be a terrorist negotiator. But that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a terrorist negotiator.
All right. Let's unpack that a little bit. Why?
Because I was trying to basically resolve conflict. I was using a lot of the skills that we use. I'm doing focus groups. I still use those skills from uni. It's not a base of my degree, but like that's what I did. I did politics and international relations, and then did a master's in international conflict analysis. It's really like breaking down the history of why stuff happens, especially for specific groups, and trying to understand the future of how to prevent stuff from happening again by really going in with them. So all of the stuff I go on about for diversity and why we need to bring people into a room and why we need moderators from specific groups is still from way back when in the university when I was doing that stuff and doing all that research.
We sing from the same hymn sheet there, but what I love is, and this is kind of what I'm trying to do even with things like this show and, other projects that I've got going on in the background, is to make research that cool profession that it actually is. Because as you've seen there, you wanted to change the world for the better. And actually research is probably the best way to achieve that. And yet, you got all these young people who want to do good in the world would never consider research as a career. Why is that? Why do you think that is actually? Let me throw that as a question.
I think in the past, research, it hasn't been sexy. Like, a lot of people I know, they want to go into other marcoms industries like marketing, advertising, because they're hip and cool, they are sexy, you get to or they think that you get to, go on shoots with big brands and, meet celebrities as part of campaigns. In reality, that's not always how it works. And actually, research, I think, has gotten quite a bad rep for being not cool. The classic someone on the street, with a clipboard asking questions. That kind of picture that some people might envision. Actually, okay, maybe that's what it was like at some point in the past, but it's not like that now.
Yeah.
Research can be sexy.
Oh hell yeah!
I think
traveling around the world. We've worked on some projects even as fieldwork, and I don't consider myself as a researcher, but even in my little bit of the puzzle, we've worked on some crazy stuff where I'm literally Louis Theroux diving deep into the underbelly of this and finding that. It's like, this is cool. This is so cool. Okay, so we've talked about how you guys sort of found your way into the industry. What would you say are the things that you love most about your job?
I love that two things. That no day is the same. And I love also the impact I get to make through my role. My diary can say that I'm going to do certain things, and I open my email and it's completely topsy-turvy. And I've learned to be adaptable and to roll with the punches and stay on my toes and go with it and get things done to meet the demands of my clients and do stuff with participants. And I love that, the excitement that comes with that. and then also the impact of our work. I do a lot of social and political research, and the impact that comes through that. Like Amanda was saying, it's not really seen to be sexy. Well, I've been to Westminster. I've had to do debriefs with high people in government because of the impact of the work that I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
It is making changes. Even if my name is not labeled on it, I know the impact of the stuff that I'm doing, the impact of the communities for the work that I'm doing. Some people saying, why do I have to sign up for this? Nobody's going to listen to what I'm saying. They are. It has real impact, and that's why I'm encouraging people from certain groups to come to research and have their voices heard, because it is necessary.
Oh, that is carbon copy. I think we've got that written on Guinea Pig's front page. That's the way I look at it as well. And it's the same problem that we have when you're reaching out to different communities and they're skeptical. And they're like, well, why are you asking me? What is this? Because people are so used for a long time of any sort of information they give being used actually against them somehow, some way. It's going to actually be reversed, and it's trying to show, no, actually. Like, for example, we got a member of the team who used to be a participant. She used to put in the ethnicity part always British. She wouldn't put her ethnicity, she put British. She's a black girl. And when I heard her, I said, why would you do that? Well, because I figured, if I put real what I am, then I wasn't going to get selected. And it's that sort of preempting that it's already going to be negative. It's like, no, we're looking for more, and it's the challenge that we have. What about you? What's your favourite part?
I think that working research has made me more open-minded. And more empathetic, particularly, and I actually think that qual research has done that specifically. So when I joined ITV, I was doing, I was mixed methods, quant and qual, but mainly quant, and then did a little bit of qual, realised, wow, this is cool, actually speaking directly to the people, not just kind of numbers, in some tables. And then when I came to Opinium, again, I started as mixed methods, but in the last 2 months, I've moved just purely into a qual-only role, and I just think it has opened my mind up to so many other experiences that I will personally never experience as who I am. For example, we worked on a pop-up community for a toothpaste brand who wanted to understand kind of how people with disabilities, take care of their dental hygiene. And it was just, kind of when I was moderating it, it was just kind of really opened my mind to kind of like, something as simple as brushing your teeth is something that I kind of take for granted. And I have depression, but I can still kind of do it fairly regularly. Whereas the people we were talking to, they had cognitive and physical disabilities, and I was just like, oh my God, wow. And I think that night when I brushed my teeth, I was just like, I just take these things for granted. And that's why I love research, but particularly qual research, because it just allows you to step into someone else's shoes, step out of your own, and just understand what, other people and what's going on in their worlds.
That's really, really powerful, and I think really relatable for. So I've experienced the same. I think we all have actually when you're researching and you're talking to people, and they're not like you. And I mean, sometimes it is something that's like profound that you would not have experienced. Sometimes it's just sort of like small things that you just assume, well, I'm like this, everyone must be like this. And then you realize, oh, actually, no, not everyone is like this. Actually, maybe this is most people that I've seen here in this example are saying something completely different, which you question your own views, which is always a good thing to do anyway. Right? Is that as a human, Tell me about some of your most, I won't say, it's difficult to say like the best project ever, because every project is great, or the worst project ever, because they all sometimes there's no easy projects, but just some interesting stuff that you've done recently, let's say in the last 6 months, a project that stands out to you that taught you something or was somehow interesting.
I'll jump in there and go first if you don't mind. So in February, I worked on a project for BBC Newsnight. They wanted to do a really quick turnaround focus group with people living in Bury in Manchester, all around Boris Johnson, Partygate, because that was kicking off at that time, and Bury because I think that was when a Tory MP switched to being Labour, so that's kind of the significance of Bury. And well, a couple of reasons why it was the best project for me. A, it was an in-person focus group. The only in-person focus group I'd been to before that was when I worked at ITV and I was a client, and we were, in the back room observing through the mirror.
Of course, because this was all through the COVID, so it would have
exactly.
all been right. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So this was kind of the first in-person focus group I'd attended on the agency side. And whilst I wasn't moderating the focus group, our boss Lorien was, I was the assistant moderator, and that was such an interesting learning experience for me. Kind of making sure all the participants were coordinated, got there on time. Warming them up before we went into the focus group, which was particularly important because it was filmed and put on BBC Newsnight, or snippets were put on BBC Newsnight. So that assistant moderator role was particularly important in making those participants feel comfortable, getting them in the room, loosening them up a little bit, so that when we started rolling cameras, they were kind of there and felt comfortable. And it did. So the other thing is, it featured on TV, but it literally featured on TV that night. So we filmed the focus group, on a Wednesday, for example, and it was literally on air for that evening's BBC Newsnight. They turned it around so quickly. Wow. It was just fabulous. Really enjoyed it.
I'm on TV. Switch channel now.
I was on TV for literally 2 seconds. I was like, that's me. There we go.
See that?
My mum and dad stayed up. I think BBC Newsnight's on at 10 p.m. My mum and dad were like, we're staying up to watch it. And they paused it when I came. So I think there was a shot of me walking through the room, leading the participants in to sit down. And they paused it and rewound it, and they were like, "It's Amanda!" And then the next day, everyone in the office was watching it on BBC iPlayer.
Good.
But yeah, that's the one for me.
Well, I can't really top that. Gosh.
You can try.
I think one that I'm working on currently that I really enjoy is about how people search for information. And it's really interesting just to have people reflecting on that process. And also for me, I'm also reflecting on it. I don't really think about this.
As in Google?
No, but just thinking outside of Google and just thinking about different ways you search for information, different sources you go to. And we're using a AI platform in order to analyze the data. I'm all into using all these different things. Okay, bring me any platform, let me go and figure it out. Just give me 30 minutes. Yeah. Forget about the little intro if the provider. Give me 30 minutes, I'll figure this out. Yeah. And I just love getting into data that way and thinking about different ways you can analyze data in the future. So yeah, so I'm using an AI platform, so I'm enjoying just spending some time doing that, doing some more of that this afternoon in order to analyze all of the different results from participants and really breaking it down by different generations, different educational groups, whether or not people who have a master's degree are different from people who just have a college degree in terms of how they think about how they search for information and where they go to search for information.
That is really interesting. I'm thinking about it. Is there anything that's come out? Any patterns you've seen already that you can share, or is it hush hush?
Hush hush.
That's interesting though with the platforms. I'm sort of on the fence. I'm a bit of a techie, a little bit. I love, like you said, give me any platform, I'll learn it in 30 minutes. I don't want the tutorial. I can just play. I taught myself Photoshop when I was 12 and stuff. It's fine, But I worry that the further and further we go down this sort of AI platform route, we're moving further and further away from the human element. I was at Quirks, was it this year, Quirks?
Yeah.
It's almost every stand was a platform,
Yeah.
And then it's where are we headed?
I think there's a place for it though, because I've seen tons and tons of platforms, done tons and tons of demos, even as far as looking at how we can conduct research in the metaverse. I've done stuff that far, where participants can walk around in what looks like a video game and interact with things. I've done stuff and got the prices as well, which just made me not call people back. You know, I've gone that far. But I think there is a place for some things. It allows us to go back to like these online ethnography moments where people can just talk to something or forget that like a camera is there and we're observing their life. It means we have tons more data on different things. Like a client may be initially interested in, for example, how someone does something in their house, and we get more data on something else that we can sell them or we can sell to a different client. We can capture things in the moment in a way that we hadn't considered before. And there are also platforms where I've seen, for example, like deliberative research is something I'm really passionate about. So it's like platforms where you can get like a moderator where you can actually record the questions and then have like the groups go ahead when they're ready. So like, okay, we're finished this question, we've resolved it, we're gonna go ahead to the next section now by ourselves. And it means that you can now do mass research in a way where you don't have enough moderators to normally do that. But it is, you're all right, it's finding that balance, like where do we stop and then where do we have human intervention in order to still do our role that we should do.
I think it's turning it into a tool rather than a replacement. It's what it's supposed to be, right? It's a tool. It's not a replacement. So I mean, you guys, I see you guys like popping up everywhere. You know, it's you two in particular. There's other names and faces in the industry, right? But you two in particular, you pop up everywhere, speaking here, speaking there. So I feel like, you know, you guys really have your finger on the pulse in terms of what the industry is doing. I want to ask you, how do you think the industry is doing across the different goals, you know, social goals that we have as an industry? How do you think the industry is doing, both good and bad? I'm going to start with you, LaShanda. How do you feel this thing?
I think there's more awareness of what we have to do, not just amongst like the normal talking heads, but across all the agencies. So for example, I recently got invited to join the MRS People and Talent Working Group and really focusing on like new and returning talent, trying to bring people into the industry and keep them there.
Nice.
So I think a lot more people are aware that we need to do something, but there's a lot of change still that needs to happen. I don't know, I guess I have like high expectations when it comes to this. When it comes to things like having young people in the industry from a range of different backgrounds, having ethnic minorities in the industry, and it's thinking about how we do this and how we share it across the industry. I think the apprenticeships, I know Amanda will touch on, would be a great way to do it, but we need to just directly go out there. We need to all say that we're going to commit to do it and not leave it to one agency and not expect just, oh, I'll wait until I see someone else to do it before I start.
I like that answer. I'm going to, you know, maybe ping pong it back over, because recently I felt the same way for a long time. I think most people who know me in the industry have known that I've always had that sort of energy of like, nah, it needs to be now, what is this bullshit, you know, sorry, pardon the French. But I think that maybe there is a sort of space of like, you know, things take time, you know, we're planting seeds and we can't just look at them and say, where is come on? It's like, you know, that does maybe, I don't know. I still think I kind of agree with you, but I'm trying to be more patient. Amanda, tell me about you. What do you think the industry is doing well, doing not so well, needs to be? Where are we at?
I definitely, LaShanda said I'll talk about friendships, I definitely will. I couldn't go doing something like this without talking about friendships. It's like part of my roots. I mean, an example, when I did my apprenticeship at ITV, I was in the research team, but I didn't do a research-based qualification. So I did an NVQ in business and administration, and I don't remember there being a module about research or anything like that. Everything I learned about research, I learned on the job. You know, I mean, I remember learning stuff about like different types of meetings, you know, like the difference between a round table and a this and a that, you know, rubbish like that. I mean, that's what it was in my opinion. So that was kind of, 5.5 years ago. So now that the MRS, you know, have officially launched their executive research executive apprenticeship, like that is, you know, leaps and bounds in that regard, but it has taken time, and these things do take time. But coming to LaShanda's point, everyone needs to be behind it. It's all or nothing at the end of the day. Like, I mean, when I did my talk at BAFTA, you know, I read out a job description from Kantar. It was a Kantar job description, you know, saying that you need a degree in order to apply for this, you know, entry-level research position. Kantar are like one of the biggest market research agencies, you know, across the globe. Whereas at Opinium, you know, we are not one of the biggest, but we don't have...
Small. We're not small, but
we're not small, but the fact is we do not have... There is no requirement for degrees. If you have a degree, great. But if you don't, absolutely fine, not a problem.
I love that.
So, you know, it's all, everyone needs to get behind it, you know, especially these big players, like, you know, we can get behind it, absolutely, we'll make a lot of noise about it, but the big guys need to as well.
But you know what, I love what you've just said there, and I agree with you, but I'm also going to throw another ping pong back, you know, because this, particularly in the UK, there are a few massive powerhouses, right? But I think it was Jane Frost said, you know, it's a cottage industry. You know, so many small agencies, in fact, probably predominantly smaller agencies. And I feel like it must be for a lot of them, they don't see the apprenticeship as something for them or that is, you know, applicable to them yet because, you know, oh shit, yeah, we'd love to, but we ain't got the time to really be schooling up a junior who doesn't know nothing. We need someone who can just hit the ground running and knows what they're doing right away. And maybe that is what is holding back this big influx of apprentices that we want to see. What would you say to those smaller agencies? Because, yeah, I'm not even going to say what I would say. What would you say to those smaller agencies?
Go for it. Like, the fact that I didn't go to university, you know, some might think I, you know, might not be as well versed to kind of, you know, hit the ground running, as you said, and that someone, you know, like a peer of mine who's been to university, they might hit the ground running better. I think that's rubbish. I mean, you can, at the end of the day, an apprenticeship, and what the ITV apprenticeship did for me was they were able to kind of shape me into kind of what they wanted for the team. And, you know, some might take that, like, it might sound a bit, you know, dodgy, but actually, you know, they were able to kind of, I was a blank piece of paper, you know, clean slate. They could kind of, you know, project onto me what they wanted me to learn, and that's what I did, and, you know, I'm all the better for it now. And that's what I think with apprenticeships, you know. And also, when people go to university, quite a lot of people I know, you know, they do research modules and things like that. So they have the kind of preconceived idea of what research is. Maybe it's a bit boring, you know, it's not sexy, as we were saying earlier. I didn't really have any clue what research and market research was about, so I was completely clean, you know, and yeah, just sort of came in and fell in love with it, really.
And it's also for them to go and like just check the information. There's tons of details out there, and there's support available from the MRS and from the training body. You don't have to train that person yourself. You just have to be willing to bring that person on board. That's it. You just have to say, okay, I'm going to be a part of this. You don't have to sit there and do all the modules with them.
You're just giving them the on the job experience. The qualification is, you know, taken care of by the provider.
Yeah, they get the training. It's like 1 day a week, right? But then it's all home stuff that they can do anyway. So it's just giving that person the opportunity then to actually come in. And it's not that these people are coming in and they're gonna be, you know, no offense, numpties, or, you know, it's like you're gonna be getting good people.
And they've been in education, like they're not random people off the street, you know what I mean?
But even if they are, see, this is what I actually think is part of the problem, and I think we're changing it now, right? But for too long, people haven't respected the experience of people who have been common people, you know? Take someone who, you know, they've gone from secondary school to a university, straight into a research agency, and now they're looking down on the rest of society with a microscope and trying to analyse. They've got no lived experience of what it feels like to be the shop assistant at Boots, or the person who's doing checkout at Tesco, or it's just like normal life, and that's who we're researching, right? We're researching people, so it helps to if you've actually been one,
I completely agree with that, and I think, well, in my opinion, research's kind of roots is based in academia, the more kind of social kind of research, and that's where I think, particularly around degrees and apprenticeships, that's where this kind of looking down upon has come from, because it's kind of been more kind of upper market, upper class people in academia who have gone to universities and things like that, and now it's moving away from that, but we just need to keep it going.
I think it's good. I think it's great actually. I think we got people like you guys, up there shining a light, like the young people looking. They actually can see some faces, they can see some representation, people who look like them, people who are like them, who are young like them, smashing it out there, doing big talks in front of people, and changing the world with stuff. Like it's looking good, I feel like, I feel this is where I go back to, maybe we just need to let these seeds grow just a little bit, because I kind of think we're kind of doing all right, What would you say to someone just starting up in the industry now, after everything that we've just been talking about? What would be the 3 life lessons, key pieces of wisdom that you would give them?
I mean, I have one key one which I always kind of think of when these questions come about, and that's, if there's something that you're passionate about, try and find somewhere in market research that you can fulfill that passion. So, for example, I chose ITV. Well, I looked at the ITV apprenticeship because I love the media. I watched ITV's programs. Like my family, we watched it. I grew up around ITV, and I love the media more generally. So, it helped it not feel like a job, because I actually loved the brand I was working for. I think that's kind of what I would say. And if you're research agency side, it's kind of trying to find an agency that does work in that area. So if you love politics, if you're really politically engaged, we've got people who just do political work, social work at Opinium, because that's what they're passionate about. And then we've got people who love kind of the more brand and comms side of things. They have passion for more industries within that kind of practice area. So that would be my kind of key. I know that's only one.
It's a good one.
But I'll try and get away with just one.
Yeah, you still made one. I totally agree with you, because that's how I've been able to find my niche. Once I figured out, okay, this is how I want to create impact, and it's like end to end thinking about, okay, who's coming in that's doing the research, the participants, thinking about how I can help to make the process more inclusive. It's impacting it on multiple levels, because that's what I'm passionate about. It's not just like, okay, I care about diversity, I'm going to stick my hand up whenever there's a project that's related to it. No, it's how can I get my hands in at every point possible. And everybody knows it if you know me. It's that simple. As soon as I came to Opinion, people came to me because my mouth had already been running about it outside of Opinion.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just known.
It's
true.
You
just put these two together.
That's exactly the same as me. We started Guinea Pig as just generalists. We can do consumer, B2B, It took a while before the interests of diversity and inclusion and all the stuff that I had been talking about outside of that. It's just like, people are already coming to me because they see me for this. Just fuse the two, and now it's so much better, because you're doing what you love. You're actually achieving your everyone needs money, right? But there's something more important than money, and that's purpose. And so if you can find a way to put those two together, then you're happy.
And I would think something else that's come to mind for me is you can have a career in market research. It's not just a job. So like in other professions, whether it's like a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, sometimes they're looked up to as like, oh yes, this is like a really prestigious career. I know there are talks right now about how we can try and get people to maybe have the certificate more commonly, so it's more looked up to as a profession across the industry. But you can have a real career here. You can progress. You can, really carve out your niche, make something of yourself. It's not just a common job that you come, log in, log off, and that's it. No, it's really interesting, really enjoyable. You can do it across the globe as well. You decide you want to move to Australia, you can do it over there. Go to the US, you can do it there. It's not something stagnant.
Yeah.
So.
But also, I would say, what kind of ties like these points together is don't be afraid to just, if you're looking for a career in market research, but you don't know what your niche is, perhaps, because I said figure out what you're passionate about. But sometimes you might not know when you're young and you're joining an industry for the first time. So don't be afraid to kind of try things out. That's totally what I did. Joined ITV because I loved kind of media, loved the TV channel. Was mixed methods. Did that for 4 years, and actually, it was alright. Like I enjoyed it. But then it was when I came to Opinion, when I came agency side, again was mixed methods. I realised that I hated quant. I hated quant research, and everyone at Opinion knows that now. I hated it, and it was too technical for me, and I just realised I was not good with numbers, and it just wasn't my thing. But it took me having a really kind of bad time, mentally, and being signed off work to realise that, come back, and then try. So I decided to ditch quant. James, he was like, let's ditch it. We'll put you into a full-time qual position. And now, so much happier. Because I've, like you were saying, found my niche. Found what I feel like I'm actually good at within this industry. But it took a lot of moving about and some hard times. But I've got here and it seems to be going pretty well. So I'll stick at it. But if it doesn't, it's been made very clear to me by people at Opinion that if it doesn't work out, it's fine. We'll try something else, And that's the thing, coming back to Opinion, what's so good to work here is that they do really value us as employees. They don't just want us to, because we're not happy to leave. They will really try and figure it out.
Man, I nearly had a tear. No, seriously, I love that. I remember originally I got in touch with James because I wanted to interview James, but as you know, he's in New York, he's in Cape Town. Sorry, I'm gonna be, maybe another time. But until we get him on the show, and maybe just to wrap this up as well, then tell me in a few words, a decent amount of words, the key thing about Opinion, the key offering. For anyone who's watching who might be a buyer and going to say, oh, you know what, man, I need to speak to those. Tell me.
Well, we're the qual squad.
Yeah.
We'll tell you about the qual. Yeah?
Yeah?
Okay. Well, as the qual team, we're growing, we're really dynamic, and we're really looking to the future. I already mentioned, the AI, bringing a lot of different methods, talking about how to do that ethnography where you're looking at people and they're not even thinking about it. I'm someone who's really innovative. I look at a brief and I'm like, okay, how can I make this better for someone? You told me this, here are your add-ons, here are your options. We like to work with people, not just respond in regurgitated methods. We'll hop on a call with you and be like, all right, what can we do to really make this work for you? We're not like other agencies. And because the qual squad is a mighty strong, the Avengers, what's it really gonna rename? Yeah. We're gonna work with you. We really get deployed to work with the other people in our agency. It's 4 of us right now, and we're growing to be more people. But because of the fact that there are other mixed methods researchers that work around, the 4 of us can be really kind of strengthened and specialized in our skills to support other people, strengthen them up and train them. So you get the best of the best. You get the knowledge powerhouse to really deliver on your tenders and things like that.
You're making me want to polish my CV. Come on, guys, are you hiring? What's going on?
But honestly, it's not like anything else that I've worked with, because of the fact that there are that specialized team followed by the other mixed researchers, and we just enjoy having fun with research and just looking forward to the future.
Guys, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we
Well, it's your
enjoyed it.
place, so you've had me.
But still.
Well, you invited us.
Yeah.